So many people die every day from starvation, from diabetes, from even from medical malpractice. And I am not signaling anyone. And I understand doctors do the best they can, and they are wonderful people. But sometimes we as humans get it wrong. So many people die from preventable diseases, from cardiovascular problems a day.
Yeah.
And the numbers are a lot higher from cancer, but alone.
Yes.
And still, we are forced into a mask-wearing reality, also in Mexico, which does not add up. I got COVID. I was 10 days, I was going to say down, but I wasn't really down.
Right.
I went to the gym because I didn't know I had COVID, so excuse me. And I noted a less energy. I could use 80% of the weight I was using for many exercises. Sometimes I got a little headache, and it's because of the lowering of CO2 in the blood.
Yep.
3 days I could not smell or taste anything, only for 3 days. I never had a fever. I never had shortness of breath or anything like that. Well, you know, we do at home intermittent fasting, 16-hour intermittent fasting every day, and we're just perfectly fine with it. I mean, it's not a sacrifice of any means. We just work better that way. And it was gone, and everyone in the family went through the same, pretty much. Katie was 1 day, she was in bed all day. She had no energy whatsoever. But then in about 10 days, she got better, and that's it. And today we're perfectly fine. The kids, one of them didn't feel anything, and we have not been tested or vaccinated, nor will we be if we have the choice. But a friend who came home and inoculated us with the virus, he tested himself and it was positive. So that's how we know that we got it. Right. But our lives went on pretty normal, as if we had a common cold, something like that, no? And once again, when you start smelling the food and tasting it, whatever it is, you are grateful once again. So it's how you interpret what happens to you, no?
So I wonder in those 3 days where you had, yes, the interpretation is so important. Thank you for making that point. I wonder in those 3 days where you had no smell and no taste, that's the perfect time to do a 72-hour autophagy fast.
Yeah, but you know what happened? I read and listened, and maybe it was going to be forever. So I went stoic with this, and I said, okay, Arturo, if you will never smell again or you will never taste again, what would your life be? And I told myself, you know what? It's going to be the same. You're going to have meat. You're going to eat eggs. You're going to do the intermittent fasting. Even if it tastes like nothing, you'll remember the taste. So I did exactly the same every day. And it only took me 3 days to get well again, but it was an exercise for me. The way I take the cold showers and the way I move the tire, which I've seen you move the tire too. That tire looks a little small for you, Jimmy. You're a tall man. You need a bigger tire.
It's 200 pounds.
It's
hardcore.
You need a bigger tire. That's too easy for you. You just move it like it was like cardboard.
I'm looking to upgrade. That was one I had given to me, but they do make them massive. I've seen the ones you flip. They are massive.
Yeah. And at the beginning, you're like, oh, how will I move this? And then your brain gets around the idea. And then you just do it.
Yes.
So that is my experience with those 3 days and the mental image that I made of it, and how I used what happened to me to improve myself. No, not to be beaten down. Some people that I have talked to, they were like completely destroyed that their food didn't taste like anything. And I'm like, man, that is why I always insist on, yes, we should enjoy our food, whatever it is, but that's not the main thing with the food. The main thing is that it has to nurture you. It has to make you, give you all those little building blocks that you need. So the main idea is to be well fed, not to have this explosion of flavors and intensity that that the food industry has been doing forever. And me, as a food chemist, I can tell you many stories and many instances in which big companies, big food companies, don't even care about anything except as cheap, make it as cheap as you can, as palatable and as addictive as you can, and just make it happen. Do whatever you need to do. And so I have this inside information as a food chemist to know what's wrong with all that industry.
Well, and before I found the low carb lifestyle, Arturo, I just thought food was food. If it was in the grocery store, food. And of course, they have all these like packages, and on the front of the packaging, all these claims. I never once turned it over to look at ingredients. I never really cared about nutrition until I did a low fat diet. Then it was only how many fat grams is in there. And then when I went low carb, I started with the carbs or the sugar, and then the total carbs, and then the oh my God, and then looking down the ingredient, fat, oh my gosh, wheat, oh my God. They could call it keto, and there's keto products in America right now. Keto wraps, first ingredient, modified wheat flour, and I'm going,
what?
Another food starch, and I'm going, they don't get it, but people get fooled every day.
Yes, and when we say people, we even include those people, air quotes again, who think of themselves as some sort of experts, without being so, and that is so fake, and it makes my blood boil, because you do need some sort of education and basic education to understand things. And if you are not a chemist, as myself, you can educate and be almost like a chemist or a medical doctor or a biochemist, such as yourself. And if someone doubts what I'm saying, they should just read one of your books or listen to one of your interviews to understand that not necessarily a title before your name makes you worthy of education or information. You know? So that's another thing that's changing. So the thing is, people have come to me enraged, saying, well, then all these companies who make this, for instance, these gels for cyclists and for runners, they got it wrong? You mean to tell me that they got it wrong? And I'm like, yes, they got it wrong. And they make it because you keep buying them. Because if you go deep down into the mitochondria, every time, well, inside the mitochondria are the little organelles which make energy, basically, inside the cells. And cells like the neurons have thousands of different mitochondria. And inside the mitochondria, there are different chemical reactions. And whatever helps these reactions are called anaplerotic things. And whatever prevents mitochondria from making these reactions, which make ATP, I will tell what's ATP in a bit, are called cataplerotic reactions or substances, which inhibit. So the point is, for every mole, a mole is like a dozen. It's like a comparable amount, like a dozen pears, a dozen eggs. A mole has to do with molecular weight, blah, blah, blah. So what I mean to say is, if you put the same amount of glucose into these reactions in the mitochondria, it makes 37 ATP. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the like the coin of exchanging coin energy-wise in all living things, insects and mammals and animals, even in the plant world. So it's only 37 ATP per cycle of the Krebs cycle inside the mitochondria with glucose. And if ketones go into it, it makes about 147 ATP for the same amount, which is about 5 times the energy. So understand the reason why we are made this way, because we have to sleep 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 hours and not die from starvation. And also our hearts working with ketones from the first beat to the last beat. Even if you're a runner, your heart needs fat in the form of ketones. And if you add glucose, maybe your addiction will make you feel better, but then you'll crash a couple seconds or minutes after that. And then you need another one, and then another one. And then you're talking about energy as if you understood what it is. And it's preposterous that people like that, without that basic understanding, are helping, air quotes again, other people. It's a typical case of the blind leading the blind, and they charge for it. So I'm blown away.
and they parrot dictates that they know are unscientific. Here in America, we just got the 2020 dietary guidelines for Americans in December, and it's atrocious. But then it's all under the guise of, well, look at all these MDs and PhDs that were top of the line in protein and carbs and fat and fiber and all the different categories. And so people go, well, they vetted them out fully. But then we find out any study that was related to a disease, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, all the ones you mentioned that people are dying from, all those studies, including the weight loss studies, thrown out because they're like, this is general health, not treating any specific disease. So guess what? Every low-carb ketogenic study was thrown out because they all showed benefit to some disease.
They have a different agenda, Jimmy.
Yes.
And it's not working out health-wise.
No.
But then again, that's not the objective. The objective is obviously an economic objective. So there will be more people after these people who will die, and they will continue eating our products, and that's all that matters.
Which is an odd juxtaposition. And I would definitely love to hear what it's like in Mexico in this realm. But wouldn't you prosper more as a country if you got your populace healthy and kept them well, so then they could become productive members of the society? So that then, I know you're smiling because you're like, yeah, you're pie in the sky, Jimmy. But dream with me a little bit, Arturo. Go with me a little bit. And then they would live longer and thus could work longer and could build the wealth of the country longer. I get it. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of money being made with pharmaceutical companies, with medical procedures, with kind of the system keeping you just well enough to be well, to go to work and do all the things and pay your taxes and blah, 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 but just sick enough that you need them.
We are ahead of our time, Jimmy, because I feel and I think exactly like you do in this respect. And also the book that I'm currently listening to, The Sovereign Individual, also talks like this, and how, well, different societies think about these subjects differently. And in some parts of the world, respect is and honor are pillars of their culture, and they do think that way. And it's countries that have been reconstructed. They have come from the ashes of Second World War, and
Yes.
today are economic powers. And I'm talking about Japan, and I've been to Japan, and it's incredible how people respect each other. In the least, in those little things that you don't even think that would be disrespectful.